Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another work stream. I'm feeling awful with a side of extra nasty right now. I was thinking about calling off the stream even, but I did want to ask a couple of questions. Excuse me. Um, so yes, I'll wait for a couple more people to maybe pop up now that we're going. But I've, as of this point, put in 77 different strains and species to the master Roach Excel list. And I don't know how many more I'm going to get through tonight. I'm really losing steam. Just realized it's only 7. So let's say hi to everybody. We got A. Hello, not staying too long. A says that's all right. Appreciate the good vibes. We've got Zen Monkey, LC, Stephen, Logan, Alan, Chain, Luch, Mr. Luch, and Jojo Bugs. So again, thanks everybody for coming out. The things I wanted to put to the group think while I put some more species into the list are I put it into the Discord early. I wanted to see people's thoughts, but categories for roach uses are currently display, bioactive, research, bladder composting, pet, and feeder. And I've been going through these roach species, and I come across stuff that's like, well, I wouldn't necessarily say this is like a pet roach for, you're not going to get this for your 10-year-old kid who is really into bugs. You're not going to get them Latiblatella reni or something like that. So I was trying to come up with a term to describe those species that we just sort of keep because that's who we are. I would assume that many pet roaches would fall under the keep just because you like keeping roaches category too, but I do need something to make the two of them distinct, so I was wondering what people enthusiast has been my that has been the Roach Crossing tagline for several decades. Collector type, special snowflake. I don't necessarily like the word collector. It is somewhat applicable, but I don't like the connotation. I've got some probably from one of the dogs in the shoulder. I am falling apart, guys. I need rest, and I am simultaneously motivated to work, but also I'm constantly wanting to say, okay, go lay down. But I'm in some sort of weird place between the two at the moment. But so enthusiast might be enthusiast's choice. Roach keepers. Anybody else have any ideas? I'll answer your questions. LC had a die off with Uricotis Floridana from Silver Springs. I'll see if you text me if you have my number or send me an email with a picture of your enclosure. I can help you to troubleshoot. Usually die-offs, if they're overcrowded or way too dry, you'll have that. Are the two most basic explanations. So, anyways, yes, I'm open. Anybody else have ideas for names for roaches that are just kind of kept by people who like to keep bugs or roaches? Again, trying to differentiate them from the pet category. I'm going to go ahead and start putting the information for Simplos and Curiosa. I actually am doing better than I was yesterday, but still feel really really not up to snuff. Staring at the screen all day, and then it's winter out. It's not the best combination. Anyways, Simplos and Curiosa, the incurious smooth roach, previously called Simplos macroptera. I'm kind of maybe 3/4 through the office species, which is what I'm digitizing right now. I have written no flavor text. That's going to be another day's work. But all the stats are updated, fortunately. Again, my apologies for my dilapidated state. Agree with enthusiast, black aficionado, connoisseur. Connoisseur sounds a little up there. Enthusiast is a fair choice. I feel I did go with it from the get go. It's kind of calling to me, but I am open to more terminologies. I did like aficionado. I've said that a couple times on the stream. I'd put it to a vote. I don't think we have enough options yet. So anybody weighing some pros, some cons, the approachability of such terminologies. I'm going to go ahead and get this information put in. So in addition to having to transfer all this information, update it, etc., I have also had to I'm writing all new stuff, and I'm getting new measurements for all kinds of things. My metal rulers have not come in yet to buy this from CVS. I actually kind of like it because I can contort it up against the side of enclosures and get rough numbers. A person, anything too fancy sound makes them a bit intimidating. Yes, that's what I'm trying to avoid. If I say like cockroach expert or it's just something too fancy of a term, fan favorites. So here's the thing, Shane. While I like that, I've already worked that into the site design. There is a category called like Roach Crossings top picks or something like that. Roach Crossing favorites. It's my native language. So, there's an A here, and then there's also a person. Welcome to both of you separately. Very confusing. Roach Lovers like the pizza. Roach Lovers is nice. Enthusiasts, again, I've been using that for a while. Maybe I'll stick with that. Maybe it'll make it appealing, if people are really into roaches. Roach Lovers also doesn't sound so bad. So yeah, that's another good one. That puts a nice connotation on it. So I guess it's kind of between enthusiasts and roach lovers. Anyways, I am continuing to chip away at this stuff. Simplos and Curios. So there's some things I have to really think hard about. Like, what's the gestation time on those? Is it 1 to 2 months, or is it 2 to 4 months? Probably fits better in the 2 to 4 months category, and thus it goes into that category. So I don't want to split too many hairs here. I have to also check if I have to check on some things like some of these tiny species or smaller species, whether or not they can actually climb smooth surfaces in all these species I haven't added yet. Oviparous. Hmm. It's a lot. It's a lot of information. Is all that I can reiterate. Uh, Chris had recommended that I have a hisser yes no kind of category, and that could be expanded to a splitting things up a little more, such as a ectobioid roaches. You need to find a better, maybe a better term for that that's not taxonomically confusing, but I've been using it so much, I might go with it. Um, Maybe a blatted category. Just very, very vague schisms for sorting out stuff because some people may not want to have ectobioidy roaches. They don't want to keep those, or maybe people don't want hissers. They do want hissers. So, yes, possibly a checkbox to allow for choosing multiple options. Mr. Zen Monkey, if you have a moment, if you check the text I sent you with the sort of that's the backbone of the foundation of the direction I'd like to go with things. I'm hoping it's doable. I hope that you, in your massive, huge brain that you use to dunk on pseudo intellectuals, were able to sort of get the idea and extrapolate to, there's going to need to be multiple fields for choosing parameters and stuff like that. But the spreadsheet is definitely, whatever happens, is definitely the place to start. See, how do I maybe I'll go back through and split things off of pet. I'll probably end up having to do that, honestly, because there's I'll probably do it at the end. I'll go through and split pet. For example, the best thing here was even the Lablatella. It was like the chocolate German roaches. I'm not gonna recommend those as pets in the loosest sense. So that didn't feel right putting them into that category, but I was basically kind of like, well, they're research, but like something else too. So hence pet. So the roach lovers or the roach enthusiasts, whichever route I choose to go, is the category that those would go under. I feel that's effective. A person says could always do the things you split from pet in advanced and shove the general one in normal. I like to with uses I like to be as hair splitting as possible, uh, because that this is sort of from my years of working with stuff, the general lines that I think people are looking for things in, and I feel like I've gotten it close, but definitely splitting up pet that's something that needs to happen. Now, another thing that I was I'm gonna put that in my notes. Enthusiast slash dash lover. Okay, put that in my notes, and that might be finish the whole list. Go back and do that thing. Now, the other one I was looking at was uh, it's a great beginner roach, Zen Monkey. There's no doubt about that. So it's a good thing it's sortable by its the care level there. But yeah, take your time. I was just curious. I'm as dying as I am. I'm actually really excited about what's going on. Zortog 753, welcome to the live stream. The not the general live stream. This is the work live stream. Possibly a check mark for or against roaches. Yes, Zortog, that is also already incorporated. There is a scale from not incapable of infesting to low chance of infest to medium chance to high chance. That is there. I've been pretty exhaustive with these categories for things. I'm open to more recommendations. We got the willingness to fly was something we added from yesterday's. Let's see what we're going to do with Simplos and Curiosa. You're going to use them for basically just for pets, or aka the enthusiast category. Not recommended for handling, low willingness to fly, care level intermediate, not a roach crossing favorite, not capable of infestation, no diapause. Where is Simplos and Curiosa from? Here's where I go to the cockroach species file. See if I can even find them. Jeez. Ugh. Cockroach species file. Which I will be noting as the source of my taxonomic. Did they change the Latin name for these things again? They better not have. No, it's right there. Let's see where these things are from, if I even can. Africa. Generalized Africa. Good. All right. Strain history, none available. Strain acquisition. I think these came from Alan, so I'm going to put acquired from Alan John, and quite a while ago too. Maybe like 2000s, circa 2017. Let's see. And also, I should say, for the first time in a long time, I'd say I'm at about 90% inventory availability. A lot of my cultures, I've been working my butt off. My cultures are doing really well. A person's tendency to escape in there. That's kind of a very subjective thing. So there's whether or not they can climb, what life stages can climb, size, all those things should lead to those conclusions. So, Steve and Logan dumped a cupful loose in my garage last night. What did you dump a cupful of? Elsie said, I could only find one Elix in the keys. Unfortunate. Yeah, they're probably just sort of clinging on there where they do occur. And if it's a semi-natural habitat, they may compete with E. floridana, actually. All right, and Curiosa is done. Did not get any pictures of it. I don't have any adults right now, but it's done. Next up is Parcoblata lata, Tuskegee, Alabama. Common name, Broadwoods roach. No previous strain names. I shall get those dark lata from you, Alan, eventually, again to isolate. I shall. Okay, male and female about 28 millimeters. That's about right. Perhaps tied for the largest species of Parcoblata with Pennsylvanica, northern Pennsylvanica strains. Actually, newborn size, about 3 millimeters. Time from birth to adulthood, 6 to 9 months. Adult lifespans, 1 to 6-ish months, 1 to 12 months. 1 to 6 months for Parcoblata seems about right. Gestation, incubation, 1 to 2 months. Climb smooth surfaces, yes. Only adults can climb. Adult males can fly. Oviparous. Heating preferences, standard room temperature. Airflow, not picky. Air humidity, not picky. Substrate humidity, completely moist. 1 to 3 inches of substrate, not naturally day active. This was the next one I was going to ask people. Oh, why did you dump those into your garage, Stephen? The thing I was going to ask people is my burrowing behavior sorts are does not burrow, hides under loose cover, burrows into substrate, and makes permanent tunnels. I'm trying to find a better way to replace the does not burrow because I've been using hides under loose cover for a lot of roaches, and I feel like does not burrow is actually a little bit, it's not explanatory enough when I have these other things. So I'm trying to find a way to say that the roaches spend a lot of time up on like decor, kind of, or up in structures. So if anybody has a way of saying that, for example, if I look at a colony of surface dwelling, yeah, that might be it. I'm also trying not to trying my best to convey that something can still have that behavior, but also not be diurnal, day active. Some really good examples of stuff that is naturally inclined to just stay out and about is like Botellida species Malaysia are just kind of always out. Loboptera decipiens are just kind of always hanging out all over the place. It's another one. Pseudoglomerus, kind of. So I just need a term for the roaches that kind of stay up on the decor, not necessarily. I don't want people to. The problem here is I may get a lot of questions about why they sorted for a, oh, it said it was surface active or whatever, but they're all hiding. I'm trying to find some way to cut that out of the equation, something that I can say. Arboreal, I feel, gives a bit more of a the idea you need to give them a very tall setup, and that's not necessarily true. So, anyways, brainstorm, a group of brainstorm as I go through this. I'm at least happy that there is a good distinction between hides under loose cover and burrows into substrate, and then of course full-on tunnel forming. I'm very happy with those three distinctions. It's this last one that I'm really trying to figure out. Canopy lurking sounds a little too complex, in my opinion. I feel like there's got to be a term that, or a phrase that can catch what I'm trying to say here. And yet I do not know. Again, I'm happy to just keep waiting. Gotta be a term for this. Even if it's a technical term, there's like decor lovers, litter living, clinging. Clinging is, I feel like you're onto something there. I don't know what. As that monkey says, the people selling black rats in Florida have a treat you need to pass before buying their rats. Just saying. Reclusive but terrestrial. Terrestrial might be onto something there too. A person not related to the decor climbing ones. We're about to checkbox for something that will completely overturn the sub in like a day. That would fall into the burrows into substrate category. Ventral clingers. If we keep spitballing, we'll get something here. Test you need to pass. Autocorrect sucks. I'm trying to remember if Parcoblatolata nymphs are more red or orange. I want to say they feel like they're more red. They're definitely more red. Do I recommend Parcoblatolata for bioactive setups is another good question. People don't like finding roaches out of their enclosures, but when you have a bioactive, you're going to get stuff's going to be leaking out no matter what. Klingons. We got to have something here. Not quite arboreal. Fossorial, maybe? So, no, that's burrowing. What's the opposite of fossorial? What's the other one I'm thinking of? Cursorial. Okay, here's a bunch of these terms. I might have to loan one of them. Scansorial. Adapted to or specialized for climbing. Ambulatorial. Adapted for walking. Cursorial. Adapted for running. Gressorial. Adapted for walking. Again. Not raptorial. Not saltatorial. Scansorial seems to be kind of what I'm going for, but it's just missing some information that I can't think of. It's just there's something missing, some nugget of information that is not being conveyed in that. Parcoblatolata is probably the easiest of the Parcoblata next to fulvescens. Like put them as their care level. Put them as easy. So they are pretty easy, but I'm gonna go with easy. A lot of North American representatives. Strain history, wild, collected in Tuskegee, Alabama in 2022. Copy that. And then pricing, you have to figure that out. All right, that's pretty reasonable. Photophobic climbers, raptorial roach, a velociraptor like a mantis. They're more related to their legs. Most roaches have cursorial legs as they're adapted to running with how their legs are adapted. Appreciates vertical cover. Vertical. We've been just kissing what I'm trying to convey here. We're very close, but there is a degree of information that's still not being perfectly gotten with the. I have a culture, something I could show. Just the fact that, like, another good example is like Diploptera. Like Diploptera do like to hide under loose cover, but not as much as if you give them like some vertical bark or some pine cones. They like that extra getting up and off of stuff. Eurycotus are kind of like that to varying degrees depending on the species too. Jojo got a beautiful picture when we were working with Nocticola. I think it was species Florida, of one of them. I think it was maybe it was an egg case that got smushed in the process. And the Nocticola just got it perfectly in one forearm. You can definitely see why there's, at least strictly morphologically, a argument that Nocticola are more closely related to mantids than they are to roaches. It was a very raptorial way that it was holding on to that squished egg case. An animal that spends at least some of its time climbing is therefore scansorial. If only there was prefers to climb decor, maybe. It's a little bit more verbose way of saying the scansorial, which I'm a big fan of of using these technical terms, but it's an extra layer. Like, people will see that and be like, what the heck does that mean, when they're looking at the sort function. And I'm trying to make that kind of accessible to everybody. What did I just say? Prefers to climb decor? Was that what I was saying? Just saying prefers is sort of an active choice to go to those things. I'm a big fan of technical terms. I also like to sell roaches. Yes, that's another part of it. Or rather, like, helping people define what they want. Does not bro is very absolute. But it doesn't tell you. It tells you what they don't do. It doesn't convey any additional information. So perhaps prefers to scansoriality, prefers to climb decor. Anybody have a better way of saying that? Anybody want to be my chat GPT right now for this? I ask the masses. Likes being off the ground. Anybody have another way? Prefers to climb decor. Recreational climber. That's hilarious. It's actually a very funny way to say that. Man, this Excel spreadsheet's getting filled up. All right, next up we have Cariblatta minima, Miami, Florida. I call it minima, the least yellow roach. It's going to be so great to have pictures of all these things on the site, guys. Mini yellow roach. Okay. The previously used names. 6 and 7 millimeters. I will say, guys, I did introduce the micro category almost exclusively to appeal to the dart frog masses. I get enough questions about micro feeders for stuff like that, but also for stuff like spiders and schizomids and apilionids and all that stuff. Wouldn't just decor climber work, or climbs decor? Yeah, climbs decor. Percher. Decor climber really I feel decor climber or climbs decor is a I'm liking that. I'm liking that. Or clings to decor. Does anybody feel like we're losing anything if I say, if I use one or the other? If I say climbs decor or clings to decor, does anybody have any anybody have any thoughts on that? On climbs decor or clings to decor? Anybody have any thoughts? Any strong feelings? Decor clinger. That just sounds a little like a pejorative. Chain says Nocticola should be an excellent roach for selective breeding since they're parthenogenetic, unless I'm overlooking something. Not that it's part of this. Where on the spectrum would you place Amblypyge and Scutagura? Amblypyge kind of depends on the species. A lot of them do like to just hang out underneath stuff. In the wild, like finding Phrynis and Paraphrynis, they're underneath like rocks and stuff on the ground, also under bark too. I see we got some good thoughts on the decor, climber, etc. I'm appreciating the input there, guys. And climbs decor is getting a lot of what I wanted. Hello, Last Cat, welcome to see you. Scutagura is probably more of the climbs decor. When I had a small half breeding colony at U of M, we could put a piece of bark or egg carton and they would always be underneath it, but they don't really like to go underneath stuff. When I think about like what are the other categories? So I think about hides under loose cover. I'm thinking about how Nocticola behave, where they'll, or Compsodies, where you'll open the enclosure. You may see some on the bark and stuff, especially if there's a lot of them, but the bulk of them are just going to kind of be down in the substrate matrix. It's kind of like Pseudomops is like that too. This is definitely, I'm going to have to go back and do some work splitting up some of these roaches. But I like what we have come up with here. I think climbs decor or decor climbing. I'm kind of using the active verbiage here. Hides under, burrows into, makes. So climbs decor fits in with that. So I'm going to have to go back and edit that and start using the new one. Cariblat is another one that seems to also hide under loose cover. Decor scaling to provide a synonym. Ventral clingers. So also the bulk of this I'm putting in this work is going into roaches. The other species, other taxa like isopods and other bugs will not be this involved for the categorical search, but I will convey as much information as I can in their flavor text stuff / descriptions. As much of that info will be conveyed there. But roaches are the big thing. So, all right, hatchling size for Cariblatta minima is about 1 millimeter. That's about right. Time from birth to adult, 1 to 3 months. Adult lifespan, 1 to 6 months. Gestation, incubation, 1 to 2 months. Climb smooth surfaces. All life stages can climb. Adults cannot fly. Oviparous. I have partially typed the word oviparous so many times today. Everybody, you have no idea. Airflow high, air humidity, not picky. Substrate half dry, half moist, 1 to 3 inches. Not day active. Hides under loose cover. Yeah, there's a lot of those I need to split up. A lot of these I'll go back and do eventually. Preferred foods, not picky. Prominent adult color. I'd say yellow, but kind of appear more like gray. Or even black. Man, I need to rest. Nymphs are definitely more towards the tan side than adults are. Florida legal, yes, not a hisser. Little to no code tolerance. Gallon or less space. Uses. I guess I could start using enthusiast, but it's looking like I'm gonna go with enthusiast, guys. It's just sticking. It's one word. It's easy. Maybe enthusiasts or enthusiast interest, hobby. Now we're getting to. I'm splitting hairs because I'm thinking I've got for uses display, bioactive, research, bladder composting, pet, and feeder. Hobby is also a very straightforward description without sounding any one way. Do you have roaches on the table? No, but I do have these Grylis CF firmus Fort Morgan, Alabama crickets that are, I don't know if it's genetic or not, but this individual's like a sandy color, almost yellow. The rest of the nymphs are gray or black. I'm going to see if I can isolate that actually. So, J&A Torres, hello. Hobby specialist. If I say specialist, will I be alienating? I feel like hobby is very inviting. You don't go to specialist lobby, you go to hobby lobby. Any thoughts? The sentiments was a species I was just doing. Minima. Not for handling. Doesn't fly. Care level intermediate. Not a favorite. No infestation. No diapause. Continent. North America. Maybe South America too. I think it's a Caribbean. Niche special interest. The term confused me. What is hobby specialist for? This is denoting the uses of the roaches. So you can sort by display. So use them to create a display. This is larger species, day active species, etc. Things that are the expectation is to be out and about or visible. We have bioactive, which are species you can add to your bioactive vivarium to increase the biodiversity and the function. So this would be things like the biggest one that I can say here, because people have been recommending it without me saying anything, is Nocticola species. People really want to add Nocticolas to their bioactives as a component, since they don't require a lot of inputs. We have research. This would be things that I'm either side-eyedly suggesting to be used for research or looked into, such as undescribed species or species that are strains that are labeled as one thing but are actually probably a different species. There's some Parcoblata like this. Species that they use regularly for science research, like Paraplaneta americana, stuff like that. Diploptera, which they've been using for those the milk sugars and proteins from the females. So those are research species. Bladder-composting is stuff like your Eublaberus, Pycnoscelis. I may even recommend some like Gromphodorina and stuff. Maybe even some wood-feeding species, species that have a use in composting organic matter on a larger scale. Pet, which is stuff like, oh, my child Jimothy just said they wanted a cockroach for Christmas, and we were looking into the Cuban burrowing roach or the some sort of hissing cockroach. So those are species that are a little bit more generally charismatic or well-known, species that are a bit more approachable for newbies in terms of how they look or their behavior. Feeder, which is feeders for other stuff, ideally fast reproducing, fast growing, or what have you. That's your production stuff. And then finally, we would have the hobby category, which is all the other stuff. Like, why do you keep Latibotella renai? I don't like them. They're cool. That kind of thing. I like roaches. I feel like hobby encapsulates that pretty well. Specialist seems a bit more like like, oh yes, only a select few may have this species. You must specialize in cockroaches to keep these. Corporal Klinger is also very interesting. Zen monkey. Odorant defensive odor versus odorless. I was thinking about that, but I'm gonna put that in the flavor text, because even stuff like Blabberus has defensive secretions, like Discredalis. But you don't normally think about them as having that. Same with like orange heads, Posticus. So I'm going to save that for the flavor text. Spoiler alert, we'll be doing some tinkering with common names of some things. I'm very anti-common name. I understand that a good common name can generate infinity sales and interest in something. Take, for example, the rubber ducky isopods. If they had a Latin name when they came in, would not have caused nearly as much insanity as they did. But there's a little bit of tinkering with common names to convey some information that may be appealing or interesting. But obviously, there's a lot of effort going into making sure the Latin strain localities, etc., are forefront. So where I was going with this, we were talking about Shane brought up defensive mode. I'm going to take another cough drop here, guys. The scrub roach, Eurycotus opaca, has not been very. Everybody knows them by the two localities that are in culture, and scrub roach is not. Eurycotus is kind of like the scrub roach genus, even though a lot of them are. There's a variety of habitats from true rainforest to cloud forest to xeric actual scrub habitat that stuff comes from. So one common name I had seen was like the opaque stinking roach, and I don't agree with that on a moral level. And it's funny because there's among roach keepers or whoever's devising common names for things, there's a weird sort of like limit to how far you can go with certain names. For example, I learned Eurycotus floridana as the Florida skunk roach many moons ago and have always used that as the primary common name on my site and when I talk to people about the species, if I slip and do not say E. floridana or whatever. But there's apparently a lot of people in publishing or on like Bug Guide and whatnot, which I could just go in and edit because I do have powers on Bug Guide. Humble brag there. I have not edited anything for maybe almost a decade now, maybe a little less. I'm not going to, but they've been calling it the Florida wood roach or Florida woods roach, which is confusing because the woods roaches are kind of the Parkablata thing, and there may eventually come to be discovered a Parkablata floridana or something. Who knows? But they have some sites have actively gone out of their way to avoid using Florida skunk roach. And I just find it interesting because some, again, different cohorts of people. I'm not saying there's some cabal of Eurycotus people here tinkering with names and causing mayhem and moral gray areas, but they use the opaque stinking roach for Eurycotus opaca, and I don't really like that. Stinking is has a bad connotation, and it's an absolutely beautiful species. Both localities, absolutely beautiful roaches. They are going to be on my top recommended on the new site. But for some reason, stinking okay, but skunk is not. So I don't know. Where I was going with this, though, is that I will new common name for Eurycotus opaca that I will be using probably from here forward is the opaque caustic roach, and this is because reaffirmed recently and from some past memories when I was doing much better with the species. I think I've cracked them, as have several other roach keepers. We think we've cracked opaca to make them readily available. When I had a bigger colony of the species in the past, I remember getting splashed with the defensive chemical, which is probably the same as E. floridana's, a lot of other Eurycotus, and even some old world of what is now considered Polyzostereinae, as opposed to, can't remember what the new name for the North American subfamily is that has Eurycotus and whatnot. But anyways, trans-2-hexanol is the primary aromatic compound in Eurycotus defensive secretion. And because opaca is much larger than almost all other Eurycotus culture, with the exception being Lixa. Lixa are probably about as big, maybe a little bigger, maybe a little smaller. They can pack if they have not been disrupted. and you go to pick them up and you make them mad, they pack quite a bit of that defensive secretion. It's a highly soluble in air, very volatile substance that they secrete. But if they expel it fast enough and they have not discharged in a couple of weeks, you will get a full blast of the stuff, and it can actually give you chemical burns. And so I remembered when I was younger getting splashed with it and having a couple areas of my hands be sensitive to touch for maybe like a week or two afterwards. No, it was just a bit annoying to have that happen. Very mild chemical burns, but chemical burns nonetheless. And I had that happen a couple of days ago when I was pestering my opaque. I was looking around to see if there were any babies yet in the Soroa. It was Jaruko that got me at my parents'. The Soroa did it this time. And I did get a very mild chemical burn yet again. I still recommend the species for handling. They are very docile. If you just get them to discharge that, they have a what's the word I'm looking for here? A refractory period of, I think it's a couple, maybe about a week or more. So I do still recommend them for handling as I do Floridana, because they are quite chill when you get them out. But I think that's an interesting part of their biology, and it's conveyed in a processable and digestible way as part of a common name in that sense. What is the species I was just working on? Cariblatta minima from Miami, Florida. Wild collected in Miami, Florida in 2021. I think it was late 2021, yeah. So anyways, there's my exciting stories about chemical burns and Uricotis. Maybe that will discourage some people from keeping them. Maybe it will encourage some people to keep them. I don't really care. But I thought that some interesting information. Now I need to work on making a different Cariblatta species a little bit more. So one big fungus gnat, just one big one. Working on making them more affordable, presumably to the dart frog people, perhaps other people. Somebody had recommended or had asked about if I would do a cohabitation setting or recommendation, and I really case by case basis. There's some notes on it in the Roach Care Guide. There will be a link to the generalized Roach Care Guide on every single species profile. Many people, including some people who I would have assumed were very smart, and they are very smart, but we don't have all of our lives to look over the big Roach website. Missed that there was even a care guide like that at all on my website, which I consider to be a failure on my part. That should be very findable. And so a link will be to it on every single page, I think. Zen Monkey says we need to breed a more powerful version of Uricotis, something that can use its caustic blast to take out velociraptors. If they were half an inch bigger, you could get some pretty significant burns from them, I would think. So maybe I'll work on that one day. Or maybe there's some gigantic Uricotis species out there that I'm not aware of. I have no idea. It could be a Lixa situation where all these years I had seen the picture of them in the Roach book listed as E. taurus or something. I had assumed that this is a little teeny tiny species like the size of Uricotis species Venezuela. It's just a little tiny thing. And then Alan found them on Marathon Key and I was like just blown away that it was like a Floridana-ish plus bigger size roach. So maybe there's some monster of a Eurycotus out there, but we don't know about it because there's like a handful of specimens and it's on some remote Caribbean island. Who knows? Hey, Gamma. A Glauteryx Gamma. From Key Largo, Florida. Eurycotus floridana hazard. Glitter bombs will be forgotten as we send each other boxes of giant Eurycotus. A man can dream. Truly, a man can dream. Actually, I have no idea how big a lot of those Australian species of Polyzosterines are. There might be some honkers out there on the Australian interior that we're not aware of. Pull up my stats for Gamma. A Glauteryx. This is definitely going on my top picks list. I love me some little gem roaches. Definitely something to try if you have ambition to be a roach hobbyist, as it is now delineated. Hatchlings, God, they're like a millimeter. Probably like a millimeter. Do I have another variable incubation period indicator? We'll do the safe 2 to 4 months for Gamma, and then maybe I'll note in their thing that happens. They have a really cool picture. Maybe I put it in a blog post somewhere of the Glauteryx Gamma wild habitat on Big Pine Key. They were in the bromeliads in the mangrove swamp. It's really cool. You know, it makes me kind of excited to visit the tropics one day and see what I can find messing around somewhere. Airflow high, air humidity either going to be medium or low. Do medium. Half dry, half moist, 1 to 3 inches. All right, this is my chance to use the new terminology to use that this is a Climbs decor species. I did it, everybody. I used our terms. We figured it out. Dillo says preview perfectly popped up of you blowing your nose. Delightful. Again, I'm not the most charismatic right now. I am suffering through this for the good of roach kind. What is the prominent adult color of a Glauteryx? Black? White? Kind of see the white, I feel. Prominent nymph color is gray. Florida legal, yes. Little to no cold tolerance, 1 gallon or less space. Oh, I never delineated for the Caribbletta minima. Could use them for bioactive. Could use them for research too, because you could use Caribbletta minima, Caribbletta lutea, do experiments varying different parameters to see which species outcompetes the other over time. Not a bladder composting species, not a pet, definitely a feeder. I just realizing that the hobby tag, just everything gets that. Everything gets the hobby tag. It's just going to be the catch-all. I'm realizing. So everything else is more exclusive. The hobby tag is the dumping taxon. I'm noticing. So that's all right. Zortog says, complete aside if you have a cough and such, you're looking for a good lozenge. Zortog, you you are a person of culture. I found these maybe 6 months ago. I had COVID back in like August. I think it was August. It was after. It was late August. And these are really good. They're really good. I gotta say, I think I like the cherry ones more than these honey lemons. Kind of regret getting the 6-pack of honey lemons, but that's okay. I'll just get the cherry ones next time. But oh yeah, I love these. Love them. I tried to eat all those other ones where they like it's like ingredients corn syrup or whatever, and it just makes me feel worse. Makes my teeth feel gross, and this is just like it's popping pills over here. It's great. So, I'll be back to my old self by next week. I just been going way too hard. I really want to get the site stuff up and running. It's my life's work to this point. So a person says Cohab been with every single house infesting invert kylones. I wonder who would win that free for all. Were there to be a winner? I feel like Germans have a pretty good chance. Germans and Dermestids. What is a hobby roach? Literally any roach. It's basically how it is. I should leave that. I gotta leave this at max size though, so I can go back and change stuff. All right, we were working on probably gonna wrap the stream up kind of shortly, unless anybody has any pressing questions or stuff they would really like to tell me to that they may like to see on the website. Now is the time to do it. Glauturx Gemma. You get enough Gemma, they do kind of come out during the day, so it's not really the worst for display roaches, but I'll leave it. I'll leave it in there. Not for handling. Doesn't fly. Care. It's intermediate advanced. I haven't screwed up with them in a long time, but I don't know if I'm. Containment for Gemma is kind of a big thing. I'll go with advanced because they are very good climbers, and the nymphs are so tiny. Roach crossing favorite, yes. Actually, I need to ask Alan if you're there. I gotta ask you about where you got the Glauturx from, or when. Don't think it was a 2021. I think it was a. I think it was before that, 2019, 2020. Perhaps. Easy to forget. A lot of people flip out when they see any bug remotely resembling a roach. Chain says, I wonder if having multiple infesting roaches would inhibit each other through competition. Paraplenia japonica, Lada orientalis, and Paraplenia americana probably have some degree of direct competition in New York. It seems japonica can thrive further away from warm structures and the like. Orientalis probably takes the higher moisture conditions of like the sewers, and Americana is kind of the any place that's not either of those two. Alan, if you have an approximate date for when you collected them and approximately for when you sent them to me, I feel like you didn't send them to me until about 20. Okay, you caught them in like 2019. So I'll put that you collected them circa 2019. Key Largo, Florida, circa 2019. Acquired from Ellen John, circa 2020. It's funny. I look at my the strain acquisition information, and like, say over half of it's from Alan. It's hilarious. And Germans are going to be in drier space than both of the bladdids there. That's their thing. And then Supella even drier than that. Okay, everybody. I'm going to do one more entry. I'm going to go and relax for a bit, and then I'll probably do a couple more entries before bed. But anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up? Questions about the site, recommendations for the site, information for the site? Yeah, what about brown banded, says a person. Yeah, if they're even there, I mean, there's the biodiversity of roaches in like the New York City area is actually pretty high. If you've got Supella, Supella longipalpa, Botella germanica, Paraplenia japonica, Blata orientalis, which honestly is probably not doing so well against with all the other species around. Paraplenia americana. If there's any termites, you'd be probably Reticulotermes flavipes, or maybe even Coptotermes. And Ectobius pallidus. I'll do a quick look, see if those are in. Maybe even Parcablata. Let's see if Ectobius pallidus, just for fun, is in New York City. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, why don't I just do a Blatodia search on INET and see what it says? Taking things with a grain of salt. Let's look for just New York City. Can I do that? Can I just do am I allowed to? I don't know if I'm allowed to. Now it got broader. New York metropolitan area? Why does it say that's the whole United States? Clearly, I am missing something in proper nomenclature. What's the place everybody complains about existing on? Is it Long Island? We'll try that. All right, that's a very small area. We're gonna, I'll do a manual search for all this sprawl here. All right, for the biodiversity of cockroaches in the New York area, this is actually pretty crazy. Just take it at face value. Some of these could be wrong, or just vagrants. We've got American roach, Paraplaneta americana, Reticulotermes flavipes, Botella germanica, Ectobius pallidus, Blatta orientalis, Parcoblata virginica, Parcoblata pennsylvanica, Parcoblata olleriana, Supella longipalpa, Paraplaneta japonica, Paraplaneta australacei, Paraplaneta fuliginosa. That's interesting. Pycnoscelis surinamensis, our only blabberid. Incisitermes minor, western drywood termite. There's even a report of, I cannot believe this, but there's a picture of an adult male right here. Paraplaneta lateralis, Turkestan roaches from the New York City area. Parcoblata fulvescens, Coptotermes formosanus, Formosan subterranean termite, as I had said. Ectobius laponicus, and Parcoblata booleana. So within basically the New York City greater area, there's probably at least one more. Parcoblata lata might be there. There might even be Paraplaneta brunei in a greenhouse or something. About 20 species. It's crazy. Yeah, they do have surnames. Shane says, who's researching these population dynamics? Excellent area to get into. That's why I figured I would recommend some of these things. There's a lot of information that can be done in captivity. You can make ecological models for competition if you have two very similar species. Stuff like that. Zen Monkey says, I've mentioned before that I typically prefer an off-the-shelf CMS, but to hit what you're looking for, we may need a bespoke implementation based on your sketches. That is as foreign to me as everything that I say here at any given time is to most of the people who humor me by listening to me ramble. So someone's pets got loose in New York City for the Surinams. Again, there's so much trade there. Stuff probably gets brought up. And there's a picture of a Parcoblata booleana adult male. I set the parameters. It was imperfect, but it was basically, I set a square around the New York City metropolitan area. And that's where the Parcoblata booleana, it may have been in maybe a more wooded area on the mainland, but it was definitely a booleana male. So, all right, let me get to my last thing here before I go take a break. Your Schnaptera darapeltiformis from Bryceville, Tennessee. No strain or no cultivar. Common names: the sexy legs roach, dark woods roach. As you know, I'm a bigger fan of the sexy legs roach. People regularly talk about Schnaptera darapeltiformis tend to use the sexy legs roach, and thus it is the more applicable common name, in my humble opinion as a professional. It also is not one of the woods roaches, which I have stated is usually reserved for Parcoblata. Let's see, get the sizes off the old Roach Crossing website here, as it has been for approximately 4 to 6 years ish, with the new banner and whatnot. Will be missed. Male 23 millimeters, female 25 millimeters. This is the larger of the two Derapeltiformis strains that I maintain, which also bumps it into the small category. 3 millimeter newborn, time from birth to adulthood 6 to 9 months, adult lifespan 1 to 12 months. Females can be pretty long lived. Males not so much. Gestation 1 to 2 months. Climb smooth surfaces. Only adults of both sexes can climb. Adult males can fly. Oviparous. Standard room temperature. Airflow high. Air humidity high. Substrate humidity completely moist. Substrate depth 1 to 3 inches. Naturally day active, yes. In the wild, Derapeltiformis females are actually day active. Males are nocturnal. Nymphs are nocturnal or just constantly hiding in fear. Hides under loose cover. Preferred foods, decomposed wood and leaves. Prominent adult color. I actually went with the black because you do see the black. The black is accentuated by the deep redness of the legs. Prominent nymph color black. Florida legal, yes. Not a hissing cockroach. Freeze resistant. Space required for a sustaining colony, 1 gallon or less. Uses, bioactive, hobby. I would love to recommend these as pets, but they're definitely more of a hobby roach and could be used for bioactive. Recommended for handling, no. Willingness to fly, low. Care level, advanced. Roach crossing favorite, yes, this strain. Household infestation potential, no. Diapause requirements, none. Continent, North America. I need to make a quick snap to somebody to credit them for finding these. When did I get these? From Bryceville, Tennessee, to 2022. Oh, I misspelled the word acquired. That's embarrassing. See what is told. I would like to let people choose how they identify themselves publicly. Let me give the chat a read. Oh, excuse me, guys. Part of why I didn't want to stream. Zen Monkey's not sure if WordPress will bend that far. If we have to switch to something else, that's fine with me. The vision above all else, being able to do these sort functions above all else, is what I would prefer. Nathan mentioned Armadillo the Immaculatum being sighted in New York. I'm not surprised at this point. 100% released pet there. And that's the kind of stuff that is going to piss off USDA APHIS to take serious action against certain groups of people. I was told at the expo I vended over the weekend, somebody who is in semi-direct contact with the new person who's either in charge of USDA or APHIS. There's been a change of hands within the last couple of weeks or months. I want to say it was weeks. And this person is very not happy at the isopod situation. That's all that I was told by my source, who used to work for a bug zoo and now works for a a traveling educational bug company. And so she had no incentive to. I actually had not seen her for about like maybe 7 or 8 years. Actually, she had no reason to exaggerate or undersell what she was saying, but she again mentioned specifically that this new USDA or APHIS person is very upset at the isopod situation. So we'll see what that means in the coming weeks, months, and years. Again, link, let me reopen my closed tabs here. Again, I did a big square around the New York metro area. I'll put the link here for those interested for the iNaturalist thing. The picture for it. Oh, never mind. Maybe it is just a complete fabrication. Or what am I trying to say? Not fabrication. It's just a mis-ID, an AI mis-ID. Sorry, guys. I assumed that the pictures that were showing up for the species listed within the map zone that I had selected were the pictures of confirmed identifications within that search parameter. So maybe not 20 confirmed species, perhaps more in the order of 15. So a person, no, Carlos, I believe, is still there. This is somebody higher up the chain of authority. I don't know what position they have. I don't know if there's a president or what the name for the higher levels of USDA APHIS management are. I don't know what those levels are called. It was just referred to as a higher up or new manager or something like that. Somebody very far up the chain is very upset at the isopod situation. I had brought up the Carlos person. She said the name was familiar and she knew of him. This is not him. She had confirmed that because I had brought up the current situation of them allowing undescribed or, as it stands now, poorly labeled or incorrectly labeled stuff go with permits. So do you like banana trees? Says Elsie. I've never grown a banana indoor. I had a friend who grew one, and it got spider mites pretty bad. But I imagine I will try to grow a banana at some point when I have a conservatory or larger greenhouse. I will, or a Musa Bazju, the cold hardy one. I will definitely grow. A person. I don't believe I've heard of any established isopod populations from released stock, like at all. So again, a report of one individual is not damning. It means somebody could have been careless with their sterilization or whatever protocol. But if those reports start to build over weeks, months, years, especially in somewhere like New York, where I imagine there's there's a lot of open niches for things that can just that could be thrown there. There's potential for them to establish in those sort of places. Cold-blooded gems, welcome. I have a 6-foot banana tree and a few smaller ones living great indoors. I would like an orange bird of paradise for sure in the future. Right now, my big house plants, I'm keeping that Madagascar thorn apple alive through the winter indoors. Pretty well so far. It's like half dormant, but it'll make it, I think. And cast iron plant is another really good one. I really do love my cast iron plants. Excellent house plant. Not maybe was more popular in the past as a house plant, then kind of fell out of fashion during the snake plant and days, but cannot recommend them enough. Cast iron plants, the straight regular green leaf species, not straight and all the other varieties. So everybody for joining me. I'll maybe see you guys early next week. Hopefully I feel better next week. Stream's glitching really bad. That's unfortunate. But what can you do? Take care, everybody. I'll see you next week. And thanks for the well wishes. I appreciate that.